What's up, everyone? I'm the Kaiju no Kami from the Toku and Animation News Network here at Fan Expo Denver 2023 with
David R Slayton.
And for people who don't know what you do, what do you do?
I write queer urban fantasy set here in Denver. I'm published through Blackstone Publishing, and you can find me on the web, David R Slayton. Don't forget the R, because there are some Florida man types out there who are called David Slayton.
That is good to know. Florida man always messes up everything.
They do.
So did you decide right from the start you wanted to be a writer when you were younger, or was it something that you fell into?
It's something I always wanted. So I grew up in Guthrie, Oklahoma in a trailer in the woods, much like my main character, Adam Binder. And just like him, I escaped into my head a lot. You know, I was a third kid and not a lot to do when you're smart and gay in a rural place. So I learned to start telling stories, and that eventually translated into writing them down and sharing them with other people.
So the character in your book is basically based on you?
Quite a bit, though. He's a broke gay witch from Guthrie, Oklahoma, and I'm at least was broke and gay. So yeah, he's got a lot of me in him.
So what are your books?
The first one is White Trach Warlock, again, urban fantasy. The second one is Trailer Park Trickster, and the third one is Deadbeat Druid. The first one, Adam has to come to Denver to make up with his estranged family, who they put him in a mental institution when his sight kicked in, so they thought he was mentally ill. But the truth was, it was just his sight. Then, when his sister-in-law gets possessed, Adam's brother Bobby says, well, maybe Adam wasn't wrong about that stuff. Adam's a nice guy, wants to say I told you so he comes to help. That leads us to White Trach Warlock, where everything is so much more messed up in Denver than he expected. So he has to ask for help from the people he least wants, the elves who live in our slightly broken down lakeside amusement park. It's got leprechauns, a Casa Bonita, and a dragon on top of Lookout Mountain. It's a lot of fun.
The old Casa Bonita or the new one?
It's the old one, so I may have to move that watchtower of the Guardians around. That might be too much press for them now. So the spirit realm and the mortal realm overlay each other, and Adam moves between them. So he's encountering things in our world like history, and I like to weave in little secrets about Denver history and local lore, as well as urban legends. And then also when he moves into the spirit realm, I try to put new spins on things. One of my friends said Tolkien would be spinning in his grave at my elves, because they like to cosplay as 1940s gangsters and steal cars. So it's just really fun to try to take those old ideas and make them new again.
Actually, that makes me think of back where we're from, Buffalo, there was a play adaptation for Midsummer Night's Dream, but they set it in the 1920s.
Nice.
And so they were all dressed up in the 20s style, and Puck was like in a pimp suit.
Love it. I love those retellings. That's the kind of stuff I do. I mash things together and play. So I get a little bit of paranormal romance readers because there is a bit of a romance in it. Adam does meet a guy. I won't give any spoilers. But there's also a little bit of horror. So Jonathan Mayberry actually blurbed it because of the horror aspects.
Is there anything on the horror you can tell us about? Like, what was your influences for the horror aspects?
I like horror that has kind of got a little bit of body horror to it. At the same time, I like the overwhelming idea of something more along the lines of Lovecraft. So when you look at the cover of Warlock, it's got those tentacles coming out of our Daniel Fisher's tower, and that really embodies it. And so that was kind of the aspect. We really wanted that Lovecraft little bit of vibe. I like the horror to be something beyond us that we can't quite comprehend. That's what I was going for.
Yeah, I'm a huge horror fan. I am specifically really love psychological horror, and that's what Lovecraft does a lot of as well. Because for me, anyone can make blood and gore for horror, but I want more suspense and tension out of it than just.
Yeah, and I play on the idea. Some readers even picked up on this. They said, maybe Adam doesn't have the sight. Maybe he is mentally ill because he did spend time in an institution. And in the third book, Deadbeat Druid, when we go into the underworld, Adam really does have to access his memories and some of the things in his past he doesn't want to face. So I really play on that psychological part of Adam does have mental health issues, like I have mental health issues. And I wanted to see if I could bring those in, but not in an exploitive way. So I do try for the psychological suspense of it.
Well, I think it's important because mental health, as much as it's known about today, it's still swept under the rug that nobody wants to hear about it.
It's so stigmatized, particularly if you're dealing with something like a dissociative disorder or different levels of it. So yeah, it's important to talk about. And it's fun because I get to deal with some of those things in the books. At one point, Adam's mom uses the word crazy, and it's like, we don't, that's not the phrase. Or you'll see him slowly come out of his shell and begin to defend himself in that place. And I love that for him.
We were watching a film noir a few weeks ago about a guy who came out of a mental institution, went to a place in California, and he was about ready to get his job, and the motel owner's like, sees this letter, reads it, and he's like, did you tell the company that you were in a mental institution, that you're a crazy person? You need to get out of here now. You don't ever go near my daughter again. And it was just like, oh my God, that's how people even today act.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Hopefully it's getting a little bit better. So.
Is there any book you're specifically proud of?
I love them all, but I think my favorite is actually Deadbeat Druid, the third in the series, because it puts all that family trauma to close. It deals with the whole idea of queer found family, as well as resolving your issues with your blood family. And it's kind of my favorite of the three, to be honest. It's the third one. It's also a road trip through hell, down Route 666, because I couldn't leave a cliche like that unused. And I got to weave in a lot of history, places like Dead Woman's Crossing in Weatherford, Oklahoma. So I got to weave in all this nice little bit of history and lore and work it in.
So it's kind of like Dante's Inferno in the modern day.
Very much so. I use that and the Odyssey as my model for it, but instead of islands, I use ghost towns throughout the old Southwest.
That sounds really awesome. Did you go to these ghost towns to see what they were like first before putting them in there?
I did. I took a whole road trip with a friend, and we went to ghost town after ghost town, hiked around, took shots. Got really hot, particularly the ones in Utah. I didn't use any of those though, but it was great inspiration and flavor.
Any big memorable one you have that you saw?
I can't remember its name. I feel terrible. Well, let's just talk about Guthrie, where I'm from, where Adam's from. Guthrie, it's so cute because they use it in an episode of Supernatural. I only watched the first season, but it's like, that's not Guthrie. Guthrie's really historical, and it's also very haunted. And when I wrote the book, the mental institution Adam goes into is called Liberty House. Turns out, and I didn't know this when I wrote the book, I may have forgotten it, there was a place there called Dominion House. It's actually a wedding venue now, which is sort of weird. But it was an old sanitarium. It was an old boys' school where scary things happened. And it's considered one of the most haunted places in America. And when I wrote the book, I put in Liberty House, and then I find out there's Dominion House. Like, are the elves messing with me? And Guthrie's very haunted. I grew up with a lady in white on the lake, because I grew up on Lake Liberty, and we had a lady in white. That ghost story. So it was really cool to be able to put some of those things in.
That sounds really awesome. Now, what would you tell, like, I have students who were like, I want to write, but I'm afraid of failure. What would you tell that to people who are afraid to fail?
There's absolutely nothing more important than persistence. Don't give up. That's the key thing. I started writing years ago in high school and wrote a book, got nowhere, wrote a book, got nowhere. It took me a long time to succeed with it and publish. The main skill you can have is to be dogged and persistent and to never accept failure. And every rejection, you'll learn everything from everything you write. Even if you never publish it, even if no one buys it, even if nobody ever reads it. Everything you write and finish will teach you something. And if you're trying to write a book, just finish the book. Don't edit as you go. Get to the end, and it's like leveling up. You'll hear a ding in your head like a video game character. Exactly. As soon as you can type the end, you'll hear that ding. Every book you finish, you level up again and again.
Well, there was another author who said that out of 100 people, there will always be at least one person that doesn't like your book, and they will be the most vocal about it.
Yeah, I mean, not everything is for everyone. There are so many popular books I don't like. And that's okay. They're just not for me. It doesn't mean they're bad or wrong. It just means it's not for me. Tastes vary. I mean, not everybody's going to want queer urban fantasy set in Denver with family trauma and a humorous bent at the same time. And that's all right. Not everything is for everybody. And I think that's totally okay. So you're going to get rejection. If you are going to try to write professionally, whether you're independently publishing or whether you're traditionally publishing, you've got to make friends with rejection. But you're right though. If you get the people who really hate it, the 1-star reviews, they're going to be the most vocal and the most loud. But you're also going to have these 5 stars, these 4 stars. I get emails from people all the time. I grew up like Adam and you. I grew up queer in a rural community. I know that you know what you're talking about because I grew up poor too, and you get the food right. And those people will email me and tell me that, and I can live on one of those emails for 2 weeks.
If you had a song that could describe yourself or your life, what would it be?
Crown the Empire's Blurry. And I have a whole playlist for the series. And that would, if I was getting a TV show, I'd be like, could that please be the theme song?
Any final words for our viewers?
Just really appreciate you talking to me today. Thank you. And look for me at davidarslayton.com.
Thank you so much. And until next time, bye.